following is a non-profit fandub. Lost Alice belongs to the Shall We Date series, which is owned by NTT Solmare. Please support the official release on Dear Otome or Storyjar. We hope you enjoy! What in the world is going on? I felt a sharp pain in my head. Everyone called me Alice. I could no longer ignore it as a simple coincidence or misunderstanding. Am I the only person who believes that I am Amelie? Am I mistaken? No, that can't be. As I was deep in thought, the boy who called himself the March Hare watched me with interest.
You know, you kind of look like a cat, Alice. Your eyes are wide and you seem very strong-willed.
Is that a compliment?
Of course.
Well, I suppose I should thank you. I let out a small sigh and turned to face him. I slightly smiled at the boy who, with the scar that marred one of his eyes, emitted an air of roughness. Thank you, March Hare. But my name is Amelie, not Alice.
Huh?
His eyes looked bewildered upon hearing my denial.
Of course you're Alice. What are you talking about?
Huh. I was taken aback by his vehemence, making it sound as though I'd lost my mind. Suddenly, Luke stopped the March Hare with a low, disgruntled voice.
Sid Rex, don't confuse her.
Oh, so Luke isn't immune to having bad moods. It was hard to read Luke's emotions. And no matter what I said, he was always the perfect gentleman. I'm sure I've been rude and said some senseless things to him. It didn't help that I had a competitive nature. My biggest problem was that, since I'd lost my memory, I no longer knew what was normal. My conversations with Luke are often stilted. I'm always asking so many questions. I bet Luke was frustrated too. But he never gets angry or irritated with me. His sudden frustration took me by surprise. Luke was glaring at Sid, the March Hare, looking clearly irritated.
Don't you think you're confusing her too, Luke?
Stop being so selfish after barging into my conversation with Amelie.
Selfish? Why am I being selfish? Alice doesn't belong to you, you know. Everybody in Wonderland has longed to have Alice here. Are you that obsessed to keep her to yourself, Luke?
Despite Luke's furrowed brows, Sid didn't back off, but continued to provoke him with his words. His behavior only served to deepen the crease between Luke's brows.
In any case, try to leave Amelie alone.
Luke's direct warning had Sid narrowing his eyes intently.
You are pretty possessive. Is that because she is Alice? Or is there any reason to be so?
Luke slightly averted his eyes. Then he started to speak calmly.
Her name is not Alice. If you keep calling her that, I'll show you no mercy.
Sid smirked, looking at Luke's expression.
I thought you always kept your calmness in any situation. I guess you are a human after all.
They kept glaring at each other for a while. The atmosphere seems to be deteriorating.
If that's the way you want to be about it, I'm up to the challenge.
Sid snapped his fingers. As soon as he did, the cookies rolling around on the table started to float up. And they flew toward Luke as fast as bullets.
I accept your challenge.
His calm yet strong voice echoed. Instantly, the cookies that were aimed at him burst with a bright sound. Is that magic? My eyes widened in disbelief, and I released an unintelligible sound. I was supposedly wide awake, yet it felt like I was still dreaming. This can't be. I whispered the words before the realization hit. No, maybe I've just forgotten, and being able to use magic is perfectly normal. I was seemingly frozen in place while a ridiculous fight was going on, and various things flew back and forth right before my eyes.
Take that!
Sid threw a huge birthday cake decorated with pastel pink and blue frosting.
That's nothing.
Luke conjured up a large plate from thin air to catch the cream-laden cake. In retaliation, he lightly twirled his finger and a number of pots floated up and poured steaming hot tea down on Sid.
Hey, that's cruel!
There's plenty more to come.
As I watched this mind-boggling fight, I gradually came back to my senses. I took a deep breath. Stop it! I hollered at them with all my might. Surprised by my sudden outburst, the two immediately stopped moving. The pots floating in the air were also frozen in place. I continued. Please, don't fight over me. I clasped my hands at my chest, trying to be cute. Luke and Sid seemed baffled by the sudden change in my demeanor. It's not my style, but I've always wanted to say that. I could only laugh at the dumbfounded looks they both wore. Even when I hollered at them to stop them, I wasn't really mad. I just thought it was something I had to do to get their attention. Thank you. It's not every day that a girl has two guys fighting over her. It was a worthwhile experience. But you can't just fight and ignore the girl. I smile as I let my words sink in. Sid was the first one to crack up.
You're hilarious.
Why, thank you. I nodded primly at a laughing Sid. Are you calm now, Luke?
Yeah.
I turned to face Luke, and he was smiling wryly in resignation. His expression seemed almost gentle. He must have accepted my explanation.
We'll stop fighting.
Yeah, it's not like we don't get along.
What is the nature of your relationship anyway? At first glance, you don't seem to really get along. To be honest, they seem to be complete opposites. If Luke were the type to quietly drink tea, Sid would be the one guzzling alcohol rowdily. I told them what I thought, and Sid laughingly filled me in.
We've started talking a lot lately about Alice.
Alice. He is referring to me. I looked to Luke for confirmation, and he nodded slightly in response.
You were sleeping for so long. Sid was probably worried.
Well, I hadn't had a chance to meet you yet, but Luke said he already saw you. I pestered him to tell me all about you.
Now I had a better understanding of the circumstances. But I still had no idea of the most important thing, which was why everyone thought I was Alice.
By the way, Amelie.
Yes?
We won't fight anymore, so could you put the pots down?
Uh-huh. You mean the floating pots? I thought that was your doing, Luke. I couldn't hide my shock, but Luke steadfastly shook his head.
At first I was controlling them with magic, but not anymore.
You see, Alice? Just now you hollered at us to stop it, didn't you? That's when you stopped them with magic. You overrode Luke's initial spell.
Really? I can use magic? This was the first I'd heard of it. This unexpected revelation had my cheeks flushing pink.
You didn't even know?
While Sid sounded surprised, he immediately nodded in understanding.
No, come to think of it, it's no surprise that you didn't know. I mean, you just arrived here.
So, Sid, you knew all along that I could use magic. This time, Luke answered my question.
Everyone who lives in Wonderland can use magic, including you, Amelie. By wishing strongly for us to stop, it's likely you subconsciously used your magic. So now, all you have to do is wish strongly for the pots to return to the table.
That's easier said than done. Do you really think I can do it?
You can.
Luke's answer held absolutely no doubt. I somehow felt that it was doable.
If you find it hard to concentrate, it helps to vocalize it. Try talking to the pots.
Okay, I'll try. I repeated his advice in my head and emptied my lungs. All right, everyone. I raised my head and looked at the floating pots. Hey, pots, you can come down now. Just then, they heeded my words and followed a gentle trajectory back down to the table, almost like falling leaves. Wow.
Well done, Amelie.
How do you feel? Are you spooked at all?
To think I'd suddenly become a magician. This is amazing! Hey, what else can I do?
Pretty much anything. I mean, we're talking about magic here. Why don't you try whatever you feel like?
What? Oh, let me see. I looked around the table and gave it some thought. My mind was made up. Here goes! I mimicked the earlier movements of Luke and Sid while pointing at a broken flower vase. Then right before my eyes, the vase came back together almost as good as new. Perhaps it was due to my magical skills, but there were a few noticeable cracks and the design was somewhat off. Sid beamed and complimented me on my endeavor.
Hey, that looks pretty good. Do you think you have the hang of it now?
Maybe. Next, let me try. I thought about conjuring up the cookies that Luke made disappear.
Stop, Amelie.
Luke grabbed my hand and spoke in a stern voice. What? Why? What's wrong? I was still trying to recover from Luke's unexpected rebuke when he continued to speak wearing a grave expression.
It's true that in Wonderland anyone can use magic, but there's no need to be reckless.
You have a valid point, but... Luke's words didn't make me happy, and I furrowed my brows. You're right, there might have been no need to use that magic. I mean, who cares if the vase doesn't get fixed, right?
I wouldn't say that. It's better fixed than it is broken.
Sid, be quiet for a minute, please. You're spoiling my moment. Sid laughed and raised his hands in apparent surrender when I started to pout. But if you're telling me not to use it recklessly, Luke, how do you explain the fight just now between you and Sid? It looked pretty reckless to me.
Alice is right. Why are you interfering, Luke? This is Alice's first time using magic. Let her do what she wants.
Sid was on my side. Sid and I both stared at Luke. But Luke just remained silent. Sid released a frustrated sigh and shrugged his shoulders.
It's no use. When he gets like this, he shuts up like a clam.
Yeah, I can imagine. I agreed with Sid and exhaled a sigh of my own. That's when it happened. Alice! Alice! Here we go with Alice again. I dropped my shoulders in defeat as I heard the unexpected voice coming from the forest. Having no idea of my dejection, the owner of the voice made his way to where the tea party was being held.
Alice! Here you are!
Through the bushes appeared a white, fluffy, and very cute rabbit. As he tried to run toward us, he tripped and fell. But falling didn't stop the rabbit. He hurriedly got up and pinned his big round eyes on me. Yep, he seems to have been calling out for me.
Oh, thank goodness! I've been looking all around Wonderland for you. I thought I'd never find you.
Hey, little rabbit. You're looking boisterous as ever.
I'm not a little rabbit. I'm a white rabbit. And my name is Al.
The white rabbit, Al, responded to the teasing by Sid, the March Hare, in all seriousness. It was adorable, and I wouldn't have minded watching the scene unfold, but... What is it, Al? I couldn't avoid asking the white rabbit why he needed to see Alice. Why is it that you need to see me?
Oh!
As soon as I asked him this, Al's ears pointed straight toward the sky.
Oh, Alice! The Queen of Hearts is asking for you.
The Queen of Hearts? Why me?
I don't know. I didn't ask why, but it's my job to find you for her. Anyway, Alice, there's no defying the Queen's orders, so I need you to come with me right now.
A questionable invitation from a complete stranger. To be honest, I didn't really feel up to it. Well, okay. I suppose if she's looking for me, she must know something. Even if she didn't know me per se, she knew about Alice. If I just stayed here chatting with Luke and Sid, I would never find out my current position. The Queen, surely if she held a position of authority in Wonderland, she would have a better understanding of this situation than others.
I'll go too. It leaves me concerned if you go alone.
Are you sure? I'm pretty certain he can show me the way. I said this as I pointed to the white rabbit, but Luke just shook his head slowly.
That's not the problem.
Then what is the problem? I was curious to hear it, but didn't think he would answer me even if I asked. My acquaintance with Luke might have been short, but I was already starting to understand him. So I decided to hold my tongue for the time being. Instead, I looked up to the March Hare, the very tall Sid who was wearing a small smile. What about you, Sid?
I'm staying here. I haven't eaten anything yet. I'm too starved to move. Hey, Luke, do you mind if I eat these sweets?
Help yourself.
And so, Luke and I were guided by the White Rabbit. We headed to the Castle of Heart, where the Queen was said to be waiting. I still had no idea why I slept for so many days. Magic would get us to the Castle of Heart in a jiffy. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Transportation spell exhausted a huge amount of power, so we took our time leisurely walking to the castle.
It's this way, Alice.
Okay. The town was populated by normal humans like me, as well as animals that walked on two legs, like Al. There were also people like Kyle and Sid, who had animal parts attached to human bodies. So many different races. Or species, rather, mixed together as if it were perfectly normal. I was following the White Rabbit's lead, but there was one thing that was bothering me. The people on the streets seemed restless.
Look, it's Alice!
So Alice is finally here.
It felt like all the eyes in Wonderland were focused on me. Why is everyone so interested in Alice?
Pay them no mind.
Luke's reply felt somehow off the mark. I knew he was worried about me, but... Yeah, I'll take your advice. I appreciated Luke's consideration and nodded without hesitation. He seemed to be surprised by my easy acquiescence. I turned to him and smiled. It's alright. It's not like their looks will affect me. There's no point in wondering why I'm Alice and why they're so interested in me. So many whys. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Amelie.
What I am worried about is me. How can I regain my lost memory to go back home? That's it.
You're strong.
Luke looked impressed as he smiled softly at me. For some reason, his gentle expression caused my heart to flutter. This is not the time to be thinking such things. I was rather peeved with myself, and a blush crept over me. Luke didn't seem to notice my wayward thoughts and regarded me curiously. As we followed the White Rabbit through the town, we passed in front of a mysterious gate.
If we take this road straight, we'll reach the Castle of Heart.
By the way, what is this gate?
This place is off limits.
I see. His reply was simple, but just by looking, it was obviously restricted to outsiders. There was a shiny keyhole in the middle of the gate. My curiosity was piqued. I tried pushing the gate open, but it wouldn't budge. I wonder if magic is being used to lock it. I was probably lucky it wasn't the kind of magic that emitted a sudden bolt of electricity when touched.
Hurry, Alice, hurry! The Queen is waiting.
Oh, alright. Sorry. Al's impatience had me quickening my steps. Luke turned his back on the locked gate and followed me. this is the Castle of Heart. We finally reached the castle, and I studied it intently. The crimson and gray castle was decorated with hearts everywhere, just like its name. It was even cute. But that was not all. It was certainly befitting the person who ruled this land, the Queen.
Be careful, Amelie.
Huh? Luke whispered into my ear as I regarded the castle that looked straight out of a fairy tale.
There's the Cheshire Cat.
His words prompted me to look, and there, right in front of the castle, was one of the men I met that day. Standing there was Kyle.
Hello, I'm Al, the White Rabbit. Your Majesty, I'll do my best to introduce the next page. Wait, there's no time for that. The Cheshire Cat is...
So, Luke, are you hiding something?
Luke's expression failed to waver even when he was eyed suspiciously. No, perhaps his jade-colored eyes did shift a little. I heaved a sigh and forged between the two to defend Luke. Stop it, Kyle.
Huh?
Am I going to forget this name someday? Luke looked at me in surprise when he heard my whisper. The next moment... Luke? He reached out his arms and suddenly pulled me into his embrace.
Wait, huh? Is the introduction already over? I missed it. I'm sorry.